Hello, amazing U.S. history students. Welcome into the live stream tonight to talk about your retake for ACES writing. So welcome in. When you get in here, just drop me a little comment and let me know that you're here. Hold on, I've got to add this in here. Welcome in, welcome in. When you get in here, just drop me a little comment. Let me know that you're here. Welcome. And also down in the description, as well as in the comments, I have placed a note sheet for you. That's what you'll be using in order to turn in to me in order to get the retake points. So make sure that you grab that. And we're going to get started here in just a second. So just say hello in the comments. I would appreciate that, knowing that you're here. Hey guys, welcome in. What's up? Okay, we got Ahaji and Anna, Virginia. Virginia, I think you're in my AP World class, right? I don't know. I may have a Virginia. Do I have a Virginia in U.S. history? I don't think so. But if you're here for AP World, that's tomorrow night. This is U.S. history. Hey, David, Ananiah. I mean, you're welcome to join us, Virginia, but I just didn't want you to have to log on both nights. And hello, hello. So glad to see you. All right, guys, if you're here for U.S. history, what you need to do is grab the link that is in the very top of the comments or in the description below, and you're going to pull up tutorial note sheet that looks like this. Going to see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. There we go. That's a little bit better. So basically what we're going to do tonight is go through this note sheet, and then at the very end, we're going to rewrite your ACES together. I'm going to give you some examples that we can kind of talk about and look at, and I think that you might walk away from here, I'm hoping that you walk away from here, that is, with some more understanding about how to be a better writer. I think that it's important that you not only know the content for U.S. history, but also to take away these writing skills, because all your life, no matter what you're going to do, you will be writing in whatever profession you do. So we want to make sure that you understand that. You may not be writing an ACES essay, but you'll definitely be writing. So go ahead and grab that link, and we are going to get going. All right, just a quick recap for ACES. A means answer the question. C is cite your evidence, and E is explain. And then we got to know the prompt, right? And I think a lot of students that didn't do so well missed a couple of things on the prompt. So we're going to go over the prompt and make sure that you really understand it. The link is down in the description below, and I will put it in the comments again for you. There you go. And I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds or so to get that opened up so that you can follow along. If you want to watch this tutorial on your phone so that you can have your document open on your computer, that's fine. I recently have started using another screen because it just kind of helps separate things. If you have access to an HDMI cord, you can hook your computer to the TV if your TV has HDMI in it, and that's often helpful as well. But sometimes it's not helpful to be right out in the living room where all the noise is. So I don't know if that will be beneficial to you or not, unless you have a TV in your room. Okay, so let's get going without further ado, and let's look at this prompt. So we have our prompt here, and the prompt was, what are 2 reasons that entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry? So why are they called both? Now, when we looked at the reading, we talked about these are characteristics of robber barons, these are characteristics of captain of industry, but we didn't talk so much about how and why they're connected, and the fact that they are called both at sometimes, or sometimes. Sorry, I'm stuttering all over myself. Sorry about that. So this is a key word right here, and that is what many of the students that wrote this missed. So let's look at your reading again and maybe look at it through the lens of this question. We purposely didn't look at it through the lens of that question the first time because I wanted to make sure that you guys could, do this a little bit on your own. Yeah, so just to go over the directions with you guys one more time, the link that I'm showing you right now, this is the tutorial student notes. All right, that's the one that I dropped in there for you. This is what you're going to fill out and follow along with me on. And at the very end, we're going to rewrite it. Rewrite your the prompt. Okay, and we're going to do that together. You turn that into me at the end of this tutorial session, and that counts as your rewrite. The next time we do it, there may be a different question that you'll do on your own once we go over, you know, the mistakes and some examples and things. But since this was your first one, you're just going to be rewriting this one. All right. Anybody else have questions about that? Just let me know. All right, so we're going to look at this reading again, and we're going to look at it through this lens. Why are they called both captains of industry and robber barons? And remember on the day that we talked about these, we talked about the fact that robber barons had kind of a negative connotation, whereas captains of industry had more of a positive connotation. So keep that in mind as we're looking at this. It says, during the Gilded Age, many entrepreneurs were given the title of robber barons as well as captains of industry. So right there, it's telling you that they can be both. New industries began in order to meet the demand for new goods. These industries were often controlled by men called robber barons. This name came from their use of any and all means to make themselves rich. They were also called captains of industry as they were entrepreneurs who took the risks to begin new industries. So right there are two reasons, right? They're called robber barons because they do anything to make themselves rich. But they're also called captains of industry because they take risk and usher in an industrial age. Now, some of the students, when they wrote this, they just simply copied that down. But why is that a problem? If you're just simply copying that down, then that doesn't tell me that you understand what it means. So you need to kind of put it in your own words, and that's what we're going to practice doing tonight. Once again, this also proves the positive and the negative that we talked about in class. And it would be great for using as reasons. And you can use these reasons. I'm not saying that you can't, but you need to put them in your own words so that I know as the reader that you understand what you're talking about, okay? So now we also need evidence, because if you look up here for ACE, this answering the question, that would be that information. But we need to cite evidence, and that comes from the reading. So now you need to look in the reading and see if you can find something that would go with proving that they are robber barons and something that goes with proving that they are captains of industry. And if you have any questions as I'm going along, feel free to put them in the comments, okay? All right, so let's look at this next paragraph. It says, one of the first of these industrialists was Cornelius Vanderbilt, who made his fortune in railroad business. Another leading industrialist was John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller began investing his savings in the oil refineries that were springing up in Pennsylvania. In 1870, he founded the Standard Oil Company, and within a few years, he controlled 3/4 of the oil business of the United States. Well, what does that mean? We talked about it in class. Does anybody remember why this was important, that he controlled 3/4 of the oil business? Let me know what you think. Why is this important? What does it mean? How does he have an advantage because of this? This reminds me of class. Crickets. I need to have music playing in the background. Jeopardy music, maybe. A monopoly. Yes, Anaya. He doesn't have a complete monopoly, right? Because monopoly means complete control, but he's bridging that, right? He's getting close to complete control. And if he has most of the control of the industry, then that means he controls the prices. So you need to put down in your notes, as you're reading this, remember, as you're reading this, if we were looking for that specific question, and when we did read it as a class, we were looking for things that went with robber baron or captain of industry. This is definitely one that goes with robber baron because controlling the industry is going to be something that's it's not against the law, but it's kind of shady, right? It's not really the form of capitalist that we think of. Capitalist, the whole purpose is to have this healthy business competition so that the prices fluctuate. And, if like, let's say that I'm selling cell phones, if I'm the only one selling cell phones and I'm the only one that has it, I can charge a ton for my cell phones, right? But if there are other businesses, then my price has to fluctuate with those other businesses, okay? So that's really important. So why is this important? He has a lot of control of the market, and it's the oil market. So he has a lot of control over the price. He doesn't have very much competition. Now, if we read further, it talks about, where was that at? It talks about a little bit further how the robber barons pressured smaller competition and forced the other companies out of business, right? So it's not necessarily saying that that's what he did, having this almost monopoly, but we can assume that that's something that is a possibility, right? Because if there's not as much competition, then that's a problem. Hey, Madison, how's it going? Missed you in class the other day. I hope you're doing well. All right, so going on, we're going to look at Carnegie, and we're going to see what it talks about with Carnegie. It says America's greatest steel maker was Andrew Carnegie. Like Vanderbilt and Rockefeller, Carnegie succeeded in stamping out the competition. That's what I was thinking of. So Carnegie is someone who is getting rid of competition. Why is he doing that? For the same reason that Rockefeller wants to have 3/5 of the oil business. If there's no competition, then they can control the price. So Carnegie first built a large steel mill. He followed this with another mill, and then soon he became the steel king. Okay, so he is pretty much going to be in control of the steel industry. Yes, Emma, this is where you will retake that. So just follow along as we're breaking this apart. You can type these notes, how I'm typing them here, and you're just going to kind of follow along. At the very end, we're going to rewrite it together. All right, so what does it mean to stamp out competition? Pretty much along the same lines as what Anaya was saying, right? Stamp out competition means that you have that company has complete control over that industry. It was the same way that we were talking about, I can't remember if we talked about it in all the classes, but how Amazon is a global, pretty much a global leader, but definitely here in the United States, we get a lot of stuff from Amazon. I know I do, especially during COVID, right? But that's hurting the small mom and pop businesses, because if we're not going and buying things from them and we're buying it from Amazon, then they're not getting our businesses or our business. So Amazon is kind of stomping out competition in a different way. They're not doing it necessarily by prices, although some of their prices may be cheaper, but they're doing it by convenience, because it's more convenient to get 2-day shipping than it is to go across town 20 minutes and get something that you need. Okay. All right. So which one would we use this as proof for? This part of the evidence, would this be for robber baron or for capital? What is it? Oh my goodness. The captains of industry. Which one is this for? Robber baron or captain of industry? What do you think? When we're writing in our paragraphs, would this be for robber baron or captains of industry? What do you think? Any minute now, there's somebody gonna say it. There might be a little bit of a lag, but pretty sure it's pretty quick. Anybody know? Captains of industry. And Anaya says robber baron. All right, so Anaya, tell me why you think it would be for captains of industry. And Emma, Anaya, tell me why you think it would be for robber baron. And Emma, tell me why captains of industry. Think about what we're looking for here. Robber baron is a more negative connotation. Doesn't necessarily have to be illegal, but it might be something that they're doing in order to gain that wealth that's not quite on the up and up. Captains of industry, a little bit more positive. So what would this fall under? Is this a negative thing or a positive thing to stamp out competition? I guess it depends on who you're looking at, right? Is it a negative thing or a positive thing for the people? Yes, Anaya, you're right, because they're taking the small businesses out of competition. They're pressuring small businesses. Yes, Emma. So the captains of industry, that's going to be something positive that they're going to do, right? But as robber barons, this is a very negative thing. They're taking away competition, so now prices could potentially be higher for the people. So this one would go with robber barons because it's a negative thing for the people, okay? Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. So I'm going to put robber baron here so that we remember that this is the one that we're going to use when we rewrite with the robber barons. Okay? Now, if you scroll down to the very last paragraph on your page, it says these men are also called captains of industry. So that gives you a little clue that all of this stuff up here has to go with robber baron because now they're switching and they're going to talk about captains of industry. So if you're confused about which one it goes to, that gives you a little clue in the text, okay? So it says a new generation of inventors and entrepreneurs ushering in the industrial age. Where am I reading? Oh, I don't think I have that on there. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. The wealth of these men was enormous, but so was their positive impact on the economy. All right, here's another clue that now they're talking about captains of industry because we said the captains of industry has to be a little bit more positive. It says new modes of transportation and communication linked the city into a more unified society. Okay, so we have new transportation and communication. These are positives. And huge industrial enterprises gave work to millions. So we're going to have more jobs for people. To their credit, most of industrialists left millions to charity. All right, so from what I see here, we have 1, 2, 3 positives that the captains of industry did that we could potentially use for our paper. So you can put a little note in, when you're reading this, that this would be captains of industry. And you have 2 or 3 things to choose from. Do we have to use all 3? No, because the prompt only asks for 2 reasons altogether, 1 for robber barons and 1 for captains of industry. So you're just going to choose 1 when it comes right down to it. Now, as if it wasn't enough information already, here it is in bullet points. So this is reasons why they are called both robber barons and captains of industry, but they don't have them divided up into negative and positive. If you went through here, though, monopolized industry, that's definitely a negative. Growing business with innovation, that's a positive. So this could help you find your positives and negatives too, but we've already kind of narrowed them down in our notes as we were going through it. Does anybody have any questions so far? Let me know if you're thinking of anything. So now we're going to look at some examples and then begin our rewrite, okay? And I broke it down for you by the ACE strategy. The first is answering the question. So this is your topic sentence. Before we do that, though, let's look at the prompt again. Here's your prompt. What are two reasons that entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry? And since we have to do both, we're going to have one reason they're called robber barons and one reason that they're called captains of industry. Okay? So, entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry because what you need to do is use the information that we just went over, and you're going to put it in your own words. Before you do that, though, let's look at some examples. So here are some examples. And I want you to tell me if this would be a good topic sentence, all right? Would this be enough to get the points for the A part of ACE? Entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry because these industries were often controlled by robber barons controlled by men. The name came from their use of any and all means to make themselves rich. They were also called captains of industry. They were entrepreneurs who took the risk to begin new industries and ushered in the industrial age. What do you think? Would that one get the points for the A for answering the question? Does it answer the question? It does. It tells us what robber barons are, and it tells us why they're also called captains of industry. But why do you think would it not get the full points possible? Is it in that student's own words? No. That's pretty much word for word what the article says. If you look at this, it's almost word for word. Okay, so that got some points because that person knew what they were talking about to a certain extent, but it didn't show that they absolutely understood that because they pretty much just copied down what the article said. So a better way to do that would be to put it into your own words and not use the exact wording of the text. Okay, this would get some points though. Let's look at the next one. Entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry because they were powerful 19th century industrialists who used unscrupulous methods to amass their wealth. They were also business leaders whose means of amassing a personal fortune contributed positively to the country in some way. What do you guys think about that one? Yes or no? Yes, it would get the full points, or not so good. I'm going to log on my phone and see if it's faster. So I think the comments are kind of lagging a little bit. Phone and see if it's faster. Bone says no. Anybody else have an opinion about this one? Not the full point. Why do you think it wouldn't get the full point? Let's break it down. Is it answering robber barons? Yes, because it's saying that they used unscrupulous methods, right, to amass their wealth. Unscrupulous means that it was kind of shady. They were also business leaders whose means of amassing a personal fortune contributed positively to the way in some country, or positively to the country in some way. That's true. That one is actually pretty good because it puts this information into their own words. The only thing that would make that better is if this person would have said they were powerful 19th century industrialists who used unscrupulous methods to amass their wealth, okay, and then said they were also called captains of industry because they were blah, 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 okay? And in some way, that's all right, Bones, because you can go into that deeper when you explain that reason, okay? You have to remember that the A part is specific, but not too specific, because you're going to go into it a little bit more in the paragraphs, okay? So this one answers the question, yes, but it's the exact same wording. This one changes the wording up so that I know, as the reader, this person knows that robber barons were not always a positive thing, that they were unscrupulous or that they were shady in the way that they did business. And this person also knows that captains of industry were positive. Okay, do you see the difference a little bit? Let's look at this one. Entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are both robber barons and captains of industry because they all made the rise of American business and also destroyed small business competitors that drove many companies out of business. So that one's not too bad, but it's not quite specific enough in that, like, and the way that it is worded, it kind of sounds like they think that the robber barons are the ones that did the good things, and then the bad things were the captains of industry. So it's a little bit confusing the way that it's written, but that one kind of depends on what happens in the paragraphs and how they break that down in the paragraphs. Okay, so let's say that we're going to write our own. So if we're going to do that, we want to put it into our own words. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it down here. I don't remember. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here it is. So I decided to go with this one. Now, we can kind of fix this one a little bit if you guys want to, but I thought this one was pretty good. And it says, entrepreneurs of the Gilded Age are called both robber barons and captains of industry because they used unscrupulous methods to amass wealth. So this is, like their shady business practices, okay? And that would go with the proof that we found up here about Carnegie and Rockefeller stamping out small competition. All right, so that could go with that one. Then this one where they said that they contributed positively, we could use that with any of these things that we found up here. All right, so yes, Emma, for this one, you would be having one positive and one negative reason, just because robber baron's negative, captains of industry is positive. All right, so if we're going to use this as our intro sentence, this answers the question. All right. Also, the other thing I like about this is that it's in the student's own words. It's not copied word for word, so I know that they know the difference very clearly. Okay. Now what we have to do is cite our evidence. So that's where your paragraphs come in, and you were given the sentence stem, one reason, blah, 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 blah. I would add to that, and I would say one reason industrialists were called robber barons was because they, and then all we're doing is literally breaking down our topic sentence. This is the first thing we're trying to prove right here. So because they used unscrupulous methods to amass their wealth. You can use that same wording if you want, or you can change it up and say that they used unethical business practices or unethical tactics. You are literally taking this topic sentence and proving it now, okay? So this tells me what you're going to talk about in this paragraph, but now we need the cite evidence part. So what would that be? That would be the information that we had from our reading, okay? And the robber barons one, we talked about that they would stamp out small business competition and that they would take over the market. All right, so we need to put that into words. And I'm going to help you write this one, and then the next paragraph, you're going to help me more write it, okay? So where did I put this down? Okay, so you can say they use unethical business practices to get wealthy. For example, they tried to gain the monopoly in their industry by stamping out small business competition. Now, your explain part, on the way that we had it broken down, it was divided up. I think it's easier to put your explain part right with the cite your evidence. You can do it however you want, but it just makes sense in the flow of writing to me that you would put that example of your evidence and like explaining that evidence with this, right? And this could even probably count as the explain part. And then the citation part would be this part about talking about Carnegie. Okay, so you can kind of put it in any order you want, however that flow of writing works for you, but you need to make sure and have something from the text that you're putting in your own words and then explaining it. So I'm going to say Carnegie was one industrialist who did this by taking over control of the steel industry. He controlled 3/4 of the market, of the steel market. No, I think market. Of the market. In Pennsylvania, was that where he was at? Yeah, Pennsylvania. And soon became the steel king. So, have we explained what it means to use unethical business practices? Yes. He tried to gain the monopoly by stamping out the business, the smaller businesses. Have we cited an example? Yes. Carnegie was one industrialist who did this by taking over control of the steel industry. He controlled 3/4 of the market in Pennsylvania and soon became the steel king. Okay. So, like I said, it's a little bit out of the ACE order, but that's okay as long as you're putting both of them in there. Does anybody have any questions about that one? Are there other ways we could have written it? Absolutely. You could have used any of these other examples. So for another example, you could have talked about Rockefeller and how, oh, you know what? I got these wrong. Rockefeller was 3/4 of oil business. Carnegie was the one who had the steel king. So we got to take that out. So sorry. It's been a long day, guys. So you're going to just say that he controlled the steel market. In Pennsylvania and soon became the steel king. But you could also use Rockefeller as your example from the text. Okay? So now we need our second reason. Another reason industrialists. Okay, so this was the tricky part too that I was kind of wondering about. If we say one reason the industrialists were called robber barons, it doesn't really talk about captains of industry, right? So what I would do to address the fact that you're trying to prove both, I would say in this paragraph I would say something like, not only were these men called robbers or robber barons, but they were also called captains of industry. Now, if you don't have that sentence, I wouldn't count off points. But it just kind of makes a little bit more sense to kind of tie them together like that. Emma, how will we get graded on this? Are you just taking an ACE together? Yes, that's exactly right. You're taking an ACE together and you will get the points together. So basically your points, if your notes look like similar to mine, and that's your rewrite this time. Next time, I'll probably give you another prompt, but this time the team was just kind of on board with rewriting this one, and we'll just do it together to make it a little bit easier since it's your first one. All right, so not only were these men called robber barons, but they were also called captains of industry. So why are they called captains of industry? Well, what was our reason in our sentence? Right here it is. They were also business leaders whose means of amassing personal fortune contributed positively to the country in some way. Now, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, well, some way is really vague. That's true. It is really vague. And now it's our time to explain it. So down here, you could say not only were they called robber barons, but they were also called captains of industry because they, contributed to the country positively by, which one are we going to choose? We've got several up here. We could choose by bringing new forms of transportation, giving people jobs, giving to charity. The other one, this one's got quite a bit of information. I think that would be a good one to write about because you could talk about how the creation of jobs produced more goods at lower prices that people could afford and raise the quality of life, right? You want to be able to have something that you can have some details on. If we wrote on philanthropists, do we have an example of how that happened? Not in the reading. So if you don't know that off the top of your head, then that might not be something good to write about. But this one, you can definitely write about that, right? So let's try that one. If we're going to use that one, then we'd say they contributed to the country positively by, what would we put? Told you you guys were right in this one. So how would you word it? Da, 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 da. Maybe I need to give extra credit for participation when we do these. What do you guys think? Totally down for some extra credit. Sometimes extra credit gets you from a B to an A. Just saying. How are we going to finish out this sentence? Anybody? Anybody? Remember, we're going to use this one. So we've got a lot of information. Okay, so by creating jobs. Okay, that's good. Okay, so where's it at? By creating jobs for those living in the city. How about that? Thank you, Emma. I appreciate your participation. Okay, now we have to cite evidence and we have to explain it. So our evidence is up here, and it says that they created jobs and produced more goods at a lower wage and increased the quality of life. So what do we know about people who are living in the city at this time? Are there a lot of them that are rich? No. As a matter of fact, today we talked a lot about the immigrants coming over and how they had the very low-level jobs, right? So you could say something about like how like these jobs gave opportunity for people such as immigrants coming into the city the opportunity to work and the opportunity to I don't know why my mic mutes itself every once in a while. It's crazy. Okay, so we need to somehow cite some evidence on this. Now, up here, also, it talks about huge industrial enterprises gave work to millions of people. So we could probably use that, right? And why were there so many people in the city to begin with? Well, because of urbanization. So you could say something like, due to urbanization, there were many people in the city who needed jobs, and the industrialists provided that through their corporations. Yeah, urbanization would be a good thing to throw in there because it shows that you know a little bit about what's going on at the time, right? So explain why this is important. And that's where you could throw in the part about there were a lot of immigrants coming in who needed to make a living, and this gave them jobs, basically. You could also put in the part about how, what did it say? The production of more goods made things more affordable and increased the standard of living. So you could put something in like that. You could say like these factories made the production of goods cheaper so that more could afford products and improved the standard of living. Okay. Once you're finished with your paragraphs, then you need to ask yourself, is this citing evidence? Did you include something from the document that we read? And did you put it in your own words? Yes. Did you explain that? Yes. You talk about how, and really both of these are from the document, but this part right here is telling me like what the corporations did that was positive and how they created jobs. And this is telling me why that's important. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Yes, it makes sense. No, still lost. Let me know. All right, and then the very last part. Oh, good, Emma. Thank you. The very last part that you need to do is summarize it. So this is where you're going to tie it all together. So this is important, especially if you didn't really tie it together here. A lot of students wrote one reason they were called barbarians was because they did negative things. One reason why they were called captains of industry is because they did positive things. And then they never really like tied it all together and summed it up. That's what this is all about. So you have to remember that you're trying to prove why they were both these two things, right? So by tying it together down here, even if you didn't do a very good job here, then that tells me that you know that you're answering why they were both, okay? That tells me that you understand the prompt. Before we go to that, let me look at Sharush's comment. He says, just to make sure we're redoing this in our old document where we did this assignment at first for the retake. You can. That's completely fine. If you do that though, Sharush, make sure and send me a message that that's what you did, because I'm probably not going to go back and look at that document again, because then I would have to regrade all of them. What I was going to have you guys do, and you might not have been here at the very beginning, was to put it right on this document that we're going over, and then you're going to turn this document in. Okay, so either way, if you want to put your rewrite actually, if you want to put it on your old one, then you can just turn in your old link to me again, and I'll go over that at the very end, okay? All right, so summarizing it, how can we kind of wrap this up? That's the big question. So let me look at my notes here. So it said in your notes for ACES, what you can do is kind of reword this part right here. And that's fine. You totally can. But what if this part's not very good and then you like came upon some new information here? You can add some of this information to your summary. That would be fine too, but you don't necessarily have to. Yes, Sharush, you're just writing on this document. That will work. Can we find that document on the hub? What document? This one that we're doing right now? This document? This document is not on the hub. It is in the description below, and it's also in the comments up at the top. Basically, what I'm going to look at is, did you listen to this tutorial? Did you understand it based on these notes? And then if you're in the live tutorial, I'll probably give you some extra points based on that because you guys are asking questions, okay? You didn't have writing access to it because you're supposed to make a copy, goober. Oh, Sarush, listen, I use Google for everything, okay? And you guys are going to be professionals at Google when you're done with this class, let me tell you. To make a copy, all you had to do was go here and press make a copy, and that will make a copy that allows you to write on it, okay? Now, Sarush, wherever you were taking notes, just keep taking notes on that document, and I will show you how to turn that one in at the very end, okay? No problem. But for future reference, if it says that you can't, if it's a view only, all you have to do is make a copy, okay? No problem, Sarush. Let me tell you, you will know Google by the time you're done with this class because it's all I use. No, so Bones, that's not attendance. That's this document. Okay. All right, guys, no problem. I don't care where you put the notes. Doesn't matter to me. As long as you turn it into the spot that I'm going to tell you at the very end. That way it's all there for me to grade it. Boom, 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 boom. That's really all I care about. All right. So let's summarize this and put it all together. You could completely, recopy this sentence. But like I said, if this sentence isn't very good, if it's not very clear, then you might lose points here and you might lose points down here in the summary. So I would suggest kind of rewording this a little bit. And you could say something like industrialist during the Gilded Age were called both captains of industry and robber barons because, and then kind of look back over and see what we said. We said that they were negative in stomping out small business and positive in creating jobs. So you could say because they were negative in how they stamped out competition and positive in how they created jobs for the community. Now, here's the good thing. If, for whatever reason, this sentence isn't very good, and doesn't do a good job of tying those two together, so let's say this sentence was more just telling me what the text was about, and it wasn't in your own words. If you have something in your own words down here, then you're going to at least get the points down there. You might get some up here, you might not get the whole thing, okay? And vice versa. If this is better than that, you might not get the whole points. But the point is that you at least try to put it in your own words and kind of tie it together in the summary, all right? So before you write your summary, I would suggest that you always reread your prompt again and you ask yourself, am I answering this prompt? Am I telling the reader what this prompt is asking? Okay. Now, before I go into how to turn this in, does anybody have any other questions about this? If you don't, then I'm going to go ahead and show you how to turn this in. Now, if you're listening and you're in Miss Barrow or Miss Kindred or another U.S. history class, then you'll turn it in to your teacher. All right. These are just turn-in directions for the ones that have me in class. All right. So here's what you have to do. The first thing you need to do is give me access so that I can put comments. Well, actually, that part doesn't matter because yours should be almost exactly like mine. So don't worry about the comments thing. That doesn't matter. But if you want to know how to do that, I will show you how to do that again. What you need to do, though, is to, Sarush, you don't need to do that. Just title where you have your rewrite. So just title rewrite starts here and like highlight it for me so that I know, okay? So what you're going to do is as long as you have the whole ACE part, Emma, that's fine. And as long as you don't have any other questions, like, did this make it a little bit more clear? As long as it made it more clear for you, I'm good with that. And furthermore, you didn't offer to invite us over for dinner. I'm going to excuse that though because of COVID, but that's the only reason. Just kidding. I haven't cooked in a while. I could use a home cooked meal. I've been very lazy. Yes, okay. All right, sounds good. All right, so you might not be able to see this super good because I think, hold on, let me do it this way. That way it's easier for you to see it because the StreamYard thing. Okay, so what you're going to do to share this, you better be sorry, Emma. You better be. I expect an invite next time after COVID. All right, so press share. And you're going to go down here and press copy link. Now, if there is ever a time that you want to give me editing access, this is how you do it. You change it to editor, okay? But this time I really don't need editing access because it should be similar to what we've done anyway. So just copy the link. Everybody got that done? Oh no. Where did that go? Well, that's not helpful. Hold on, let me give you the link where you're supposed to turn it in. I had it in there, but it went away. Sorry about that. Oh, it's been a long day, guys. Has it been a long day for you all? How's virtual learning going as a whole? Like, are you guys planning on going back? What's your thoughts about that? Let me know. All right, I'm going to get you the link, and I'm also going to put it in the chat. All right, so it should be on your Google page, especially if you didn't take a copy of it. And then it is also right here in the chat. This is where my students will turn it in, okay? So what you're going to do, you don't really mess with virtual. You mean you don't like it, Sarush? So what you're going to do is go to that link, put your name in, your class period, and then copy and paste your link here and press submit. And that is it. I see, Suresh. Well, I'm not a huge fan of the virtual either. I miss like seeing you guys and being able to, you know, talk to you and see your faces. I definitely miss that. But I am not really looking forward to going back if it's going to be as strict as what I think it's going to be. Like, I don't think it's going to look like how we're used to. And I'm sad about that because I want it to be like we're used to. But it is what it is during the time of COVID, right? So does anybody have any questions about how to turn this in? I basically just need your notes. And I'm going to put it on here for how to make a copy of this document in case somebody is watching the video and they don't know. Yes, Alhaji, that's exactly right. You just send me what you already did. And most of you, I'll remember you were on here, but, you know, just in case. All right, guys, so if you don't have any other questions and you have turned in your rewrite, you are free to go. Thank you so much for joining. Before you go, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I've got some other videos coming up that will be of interest to you guys. And I really appreciate the watch minutes because I'm really close to being able to get monetized. And I'm so excited about that because then we can use that money and go on field trips, right? When I become a YouTube millionaire. It's going to probably take about 10 years, but we'll see. Emma says, so we rewrite the ACE on the ACE tutorial student review. Okay. Yes, but you should have already rewritten it while we were discussing it, and that counts as your rewrite. Okay, so if it's not on this paper, I really don't care. If it's on something else because you didn't make a copy of this document, not a big deal. As long as you have down the notes that you took, that's what you're giving to me. Okay, if it's on this document, great. If it's on a different document, that's fine too. Okay. Anybody else have a question? All right. Sounds great. Well, I really appreciate you guys once again and wrote yours on hand notes. Okay, no problem, Emma. Just take a picture of it and then send it to yourself. Put it in a Google Doc. And you would do that by emailing it to yourself and then save that image, insert your image, upload it from the computer. Or you could also email me the image. That would be okay too. Just make sure in the email that you put that this is your rewrite so that I know what it is, okay? Any other questions? Or are we good to go? I think I'm going to go and relax a little bit. What are you guys doing tonight? Anything good on TV? I really want to watch Mulan on Disney Plus, but I don't really want to buy it for $30. So I don't know. I'm trying to talk my sister into buying it because she's a veterinarian. So, you know, she could afford it, right? I'll see what happens. If I can talk her into buying it, then maybe we'll watch it in class sometime. Yes, you can, Emma. That's completely fine. All right, guys. Well, if that is it and you have no further questions, I'm going to head out of here and go relax a little bit. And for those of you I have in class tomorrow, I will see you tomorrow. And for those of you that I don't see tomorrow, I will see you on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. And I hope you're having a great week. Please let me know if you have any questions about any of the work that you may be missing. Let's get that late work done so that I don't have so much to grade all at one time. And don't worry about the grades that are in there that I don't have anything in for. I think I got to grade the tech assignment and the union choice board yet. So don't worry about those. I haven't gotten to that yet. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. Have a great night.